We're here at Isla de Plata at the Machilia National Park in Ecuador. I've just arrived to do some work on giant mantas with the Pacific Lazarus Foundation. Every year, the biggest giant mantas in the world seem to aggregate at this small island in the Pacific. We're here to do research on them, find out about why they come to this small island. It was discovered a few years ago by fishermen who come to fish for wahoo off this coastline. The wahoo are following the Humboldt Current up from the south, and the mantas seem to coincide with the aggregations of giant wahoo in the area. So for the last few years we've been doing research along this coastline. It's been an amazing experience. It's a beautiful coastline, and I've never seen as large of mantas as we see at this particular aggregation site. Individuals that span disc widths of up to 6.5 and 7 meters. So what I'm particularly interested in is where these animals go when they leave this spot. We have no idea why they arrive and where they go when they leave, so we're going to try and put some satellite tags on the mantas to see if we can track their movements once they leave this island. So join us on this amazing experience to be able to put some satellite tags on these mantas. Okay, we're off to our first dive right now. I can actually see mantas on the surface. We're at a dive site called Punta del Perro, and I got my satellite tag in my pocket, got some genetic samples up my arm, so we're going to go see what we can get in the water right now. I'm looking for a really large female to tag, so let's see what we can get, see if we get lucky. Okay, you ready? Captain, are we ready?
As we descended to the reef, mantas started appearing out of the gloom from literally every direction. I followed some of them to what's called an inshore cleaning station. Cleaning stations are simply patches of reef where mantas know to go to be cleaned by small cleaner fish. At this location, namely angelfish and butterfly fish. These fish are now picking bits of algal buildup and parasites off the manta's skin. I watched the mantas as they cleaned on the reef for a while, looking for the right individual. One that was calm and didn't mind me approaching, but also I was looking for a large female. I suspect that large females maybe travel long distances, so from a tagging perspective, this is exactly what I was looking for. So I watched the mantas patiently as they swam around, trying to find the right one to tag. Finally, I found her. She was exactly the manta that I was looking for, a really large female. And what was so great was that she was very, very curious. So as she swam around us, she looked extremely tolerant of my presence, and I knew that this was the right manta for me to tag. So I began to prepare my tagging pole and the tag itself, and I just then had to wait for the right moment. Being patient is always key, and finally my moment arrived. I could see that she was going to make a long pass, so I crept up behind her and I then approached her from the rear. Basically, when we tag, we want to put the tag into the dorsal musculature just outside the body cavity. So I looked carefully for the spot that I wanted to tag, got everything ready, got the GoPro ready because I wanted to film the event, and then took aim. Unbelievably, when I fired the tag, it did not go in. I just couldn't believe it. That's never happened to me before, and I've tagged dozens and dozens of these mantas all around the world. I did try again, and it didn't work the second time either. I just couldn't believe it. I was so frustrated. So it was back to the drawing board for me. This manta was just too big. As I swam off, I actually saw a large female manta with a line wrapped around her, with hooks actually embedded into her flesh. And it actually appeared that this was line from one of the wahoo fishermen. I swam desperately after her, trying to cut her out of this line. It was amazing how tolerant she was, actually just waiting patiently for me to cut the rope off. It was a dangerous situation. The hooks were actually cutting into my own flesh and attaching to my own dive equipment. Had she swum off, it would have been very dangerous for me, but she was very patient, and it's almost like she knew what I was trying to do. Eventually I managed to cut the line off, and she swam off. She looked like she was going to make it. There was some pretty deep wounds, but in the end, it's a good thing that I came across her at that moment. On the way to the surface, we managed to get a few genetic samples as well, which is fantastic. We do those with a Hawaiian sling, and those were really no issue for us that day.
So we just came up from the dive, and it was a phenomenal dive. There was mantas everywhere. It was quite incredible. We rescued a few mantas. There was ones with lines across them. I'm told that the fishermen out here are fishing for wahoo, and they're putting set lines out in what's probably movement corridors for these poor mantas. And you can see the mantas get caught up in the line. The hooks dig into their flesh. So we were rescued from quite a few, and that was really fantastic. But I didn't manage to get the tag in. I found a huge female. She was so well behaved. She was almost asking for it, and we tried several times to get the tag in. But I've never actually tagged mantas of this size before, and it just seems that once you reach a certain threshold, it looks like about 6 meters, the tags don't go in very easy anymore. So it was really disappointing for me to try and get the tag in twice. It didn't go in. Felt like a bit of a failure there, but we'll have a go at it with a little bit of a smaller manta later this afternoon. I did manage to get 3 different genetic samples of mantas, which is fantastic. Just a wonderful location, Isla de Plata. I couldn't ask for a better place to do research.
Over the next few days, I was successful in putting on 2 satellite tags. The first was on another massive female. She was just beautiful, and the tag went in fine this time. She was slightly smaller than the first female. She hung around for a long time, allowing me to check that the tag was deployed correctly into her dorsal musculature. It's important to know that the tags are in right because we want to keep those tags on for a long period of time. In this particular case, we've selected a pretty long deployment of 3 months. So hopefully that tag will stay on her for a 3-month period and will pop off wherever she ends up traveling to. It gives us really detailed information about where she travels to, what depths she uses on her journey, what temperature she's able to penetrate into. So it's really a fantastic suite of information that we're able to get from these tags in the end. She was such a tolerant female, so beautiful. I felt just very fortunate to be able to have tagged an individual as amazing as she was. Again, very, very large female. So off she went into the blue, and time will tell to see where she travels to when she leaves Isla de la Plata. The second manta that we tagged was a smaller male named Bashir. The interesting thing about this manta was that he was a melanistic manta. He's entirely black, which was a nice contrast to the normal colored female that we had tagged before. A lot of people aren't aware that melanistic mantas exist. It's a genetic mutation that actually occurs that basically creates an entirely black pigment layer over the natural coloration of a manta. They're very rare. I think one of the coolest things is that of all the shark and ray species in the world, manta rays are the only ones with a melanistic form, a black form. So he's pretty special, and he's a great representative of this particular population, which actually has quite a few melanistic mantas in it. So we tagged Bashir again on the left-hand side, and he wandered off. He ended up spending a lot of time on the reef that day. We saw him quite a few times at the different cleaning stations on the island. It's such an amazing place to be able to visit these cleaning stations and see all these different types of pelagic animals using the cleaning stations, all types of mantas, fish like mola mola, and just an incredible place to do work. So again, we'll hold thumbs that Bashir makes a long migration, and we can use this information to protect these animals.
We've just finished up an amazing week here at Isla de la Plata here in Ecuador. I couldn't have asked for better results in terms of research. We managed to get 2 tags on mantas here, satellite tags. I'm very happy with that result. In the spirit of our worldwide study, where we're naming mantas actually after ocean explorers and ocean pioneers, the mantas that we tagged this week we named after Carl Bashir, the Navy diver, and Roz Savage, the amazing female solo rower. I really hope the female manta that we tagged and named Savage after her will end up, doing some really long distance movement like she's done across the Atlantic and the Pacific. I cannot say enough about this particular aggregation site. It is just an amazing place to do research. I've yet to come across a place that's as inspiring as a biologist. I really enjoy doing work here. One of the things that I love so much is the manta rays here are just so inquisitive and so tolerant. So as a researcher, it makes it very easy to work with them. But it's also so inspiring to see such a large population of mantas that's still around. One of the things that I'm very, very disturbed with is the amount of nets and lines that we've seen on the mantas here this week. That tells me that there's still extreme pressure on these animals, which is very frustrating because they're actually encountering these nets and getting entangled in these nets within a national park. So I can only imagine what's happening to them farther afield as they travel away from this critical habitat. So I think that's something that we need to keep our eye on. But what an amazing week here in Ecuador. Thank you for joining us and taking the time to learn a little bit more about mantas. And I will update you as soon as we know where these animals have